Vision is not enough. It must be combined with venture. It is not enough to stare up the steps. We must also step up the stairs. Vaclav Havel. On today's episode, I'm talking about summer. It is almost summer, y'all. That's my Southern queen coming out, y'all. Summer is a unique season for me. I want to share with you its significance for me and the entrepreneurial steps I have taken to get to where I am today. Steps that I think will serve you as well. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. This episode is brought to you by the Become Your Own Boss Planner. Someone recently asked me how I managed to get so many things done with my business, my family, previously serving on a charter school board, starting a podcast, and my personal desires. Truly, the Become Your Own Boss Planner helps me accomplish the goals I desire and live the life I want because it ensures that I focus on the areas of life that are important to me. You can get your own planner at becomeyourownbossplanner.com. Summer is a great time to do a reset as we enter the second half of the year on July 1st. So get your Become Your Own Boss Planner today. Summers have always held a special place in my heart in good and bad ways. As a kid growing up with a single mom, I often spent my summers at a relative's house. My mom would drop me off early in the morning and head to work. I would stay at my relative's house all day until she picked me up late in the afternoon. Growing up in a very small town, summer camps were pretty much non-existent, so I can remember the struggle my mom would go through in about April of every year, trying to figure out where I would stay during the summer. Her not working was not an option. So some relatives' houses I enjoyed because they had kids around and it was fun, and some I really didn't enjoy so much. But it was part of my summer. And being an only child, I actually liked school because it was where all my friends were. And though I enjoyed the break from schoolwork, I did not actually enjoy summers very much. Fast forward a number of years later, and the summer of 2005 was exciting for me. I left my corporate career as an insurance broker to work in our business full time. Next week, I will celebrate 17 years since I left that building and began my entrepreneurial journey. On this business building journey, summers have been pretty stressful. Typically, summers have been slow in our business. So that would often be very stressful for me because meeting payroll would be difficult. We seem to be stuck in a cycle of feast or famine. Fall and winters were busy, but during the summer, we would have to pull money from reserves, our personal savings, or use credit lines to make it all work. And after several years of doing this, we've had to implement some new strategies, and I'll tell you more about those strategies as I progress through this episode. This was brought back up to me because I was recently on a podcast. I was being interviewed on a podcast, and I was asked about the critical milestones on my entrepreneur's journey. And I'd never really thought about this before. I mean, there's definitely certain things that have happened along the way that have, left me with a little mark or scrape or a broken arm, not literally, but figuratively. But I actually just continued to ponder this question this week, and I thought, this might be a good topic to talk about on the podcast because there are so many things that we do encounter on our entrepreneurial journey. And I want to share about 4 or 5 critical milestones that I feel like I've faced and perhaps what I would do differently if they were to come up again, or if I could turn back the hands of time and do it all over again. I would say my first milestone would be realizing that we actually have a business. I mean, a real business, meaning, wow, we're making money. Back in 2002, when Ethan and I came up with this idea of first starting Stuff for Greeks, a place where fraternity and sorority members could go shop online, we did not know that this was a viable business. We knew it was a problem that we had when it came to shopping for Greek paraphernalia and for getting unique and custom things, but we did not know we had a viable business until we began to see people shopping with us, people coming back to shop with us again. And that's how we knew that we had a viable business, a business that we could possibly live off of, and a business that would allow me to leave my corporate position and actually own my own company, which was a dream of mine for a long time. The one thing that I think about sometimes here, though, is that I could have possibly stayed in my corporate position for another year or so, but then I wonder if the business would have been as far along if I would have stayed in that position and not given the business my full-time attention. And I was honestly miserable trying to juggle it all. I literally was working full-time in one position and full-time in our business anyway, just late at night. Of course, hindsight is always 20/20. I could have saved more perhaps, or just had more of a cushion to fall back on. But sometimes when you have no choice but to fly, you fly. The second milestone would be when we hired our first employee. We really had no idea what we were doing. So we gave him about 2 days of training, and we were young, so we really hired someone so we could go on a trip and still get work done in the meantime. It actually worked out great. He was there at the time able to help Ethan, who had already left his full-time position, and I was still at my corporate position. So he was a great help to the company, and he stayed with us for about 2 to 3 years. This would, however, begin a huge process of learning, not only about hiring, but also about managing. Though we've gotten better over the years, I still have not perfected either of these areas. I continue to read, learn, and hopefully get better. What I have learned here is not to overstaff. Use virtual assistants or freelancers where you can for as long as you can. This way you can dial back the work and thus the expenses if you don't have the revenue coming in. The third milestone would be when we decided to invest $40,000 in a conference in hopes that we would make double that money back, and that would get us through the summer. You know, and I know there's really no failure, but this one I do regret. Thinking back to it stings because we totally went off of our core competency, and we had inventory left over for years, and we did not even come close to making double. We broke even. And not only did we go against our core competency, but we went against what we were building our company on in the first place, which was and is custom Greek apparel that turns heads and stands out from the crowd. Now we provide custom embroidered and printed apparel to everyone, anyone, Greeks, businesses, individuals, but those things are still within the premise of why we founded Zeus's Closet and Stuff for Greeks in the first place. We still want your corporate logo to look really great on a shirt and turn the head of someone so you get their attention. They ask you about your business. They talk to you about your business. It's custom, and we don't create it until it is bought. Of course, I can squeeze lemons and make lemonade. We learned a lot through that process. We learned that conferences weren't our thing. And that was a big lesson to learn because we stopped them immediately. And we did get a lot of people on our email list, so that was definitely a plus. But now any new idea has to go through the filter of, does this fall within our core competency, and does it align with our core values? The fourth was when we invested in commercial property, pulling out all the stops. We cashed in stocks and bonds and everything we could to actually afford the 10% down payment. Though this was a stressful moment to move the business out of our basement, it was so worth it. One of our stores, we own the property, and the other we lease. Honestly, I don't like the leasing. What do I have to show for it at the end of the day? Tyler Perry learned from Oprah that you want to own, not rent. And truth be told, we learned from Tyler that we want to own and not rent. And I know this is not the case with everyone. Commercial space can be expensive. We lucked out and found a spot that had been honestly somewhat abandoned and just wasn't moving, so we got a great deal. But this was something that was really important to Ethan and I. And though we went down the road of leasing for our second location, this is something that we're not willing to put another 5 years of leasing into. Now, perhaps we will luck up on another great property that is a great price, but if not, leasing, we've learned, is definitely not our thing. So during your entrepreneurial journey, you will live and learn. That is a true statement. My fifth milestone would be hitting that 7-figure mark. This was not an easy task. And no, I don't make 7 figures personally, not yet anyway. But this was a goal for our business, and we worked our butts off to get there. This required strategy and unwavering values that were adopted by everyone in our company. We would meet often, make sure everyone was on the same page. We would recite our core values, with promises being number one. I keep promises to customers, to the company, and to the team by any means necessary. We have 6 additional core values, but promises is at the top of the list. I am excited about this summer. I was always that parent that complained about summers because I thought these kids don't need a break. They need to learn. But OMG, how I appreciate the breaks. Getting an extra hour of sleep or an extra hour to work out or just enjoy another cup of coffee is amazing. Our business seems to be staying busy despite it being summer, which is exciting. And the lesson here for me is expanding your offerings in a seasonal business can be key in bridging the gap and not overstaffing. You want to be there for your team members, but you don't want to have to take care of a lot of team members during slower times. It's important, so important as well, that you don't have that stress or strain when you're trying to run and grow your business. 17 years of full-time entrepreneurship and 20 years of business ownership has taught me a lot. And I'm still learning, and thankfully, I am still having fun. Figuring out how to grow to the next level is challenging, but oh so exciting. Summer is a great time to have strategic planning meetings with your team as you head into the last half of the year. So take advantage of the slowdown if you have one, and use this time to plan your next steps. I would love to know, how are you spending your summer? I definitely plan on taking some time off and hang out with the kids and go on a couple of vacations. That's always a great time to refresh, reset, travel, get in some creative thinking, reading, writing. But how are you spending your summer? Are you meeting with your team? Are you doing some strategic planning? Moving towards the end of the year? Are you taking vacations? Please share with me. I am on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok at Become Your Own Boss Podcast. I think Instagram is a little more communicative. Is that a word? Not really sure. But I feel like there's more conversation on Instagram, and I would love for you to share with me what you're doing this summer. And what are you doing? Are you doing anything special towards your business this summer? Are you doing anything special to grow? Are you thinking through holiday strategy already? Just some questions, curious about your summer. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you have gained some insight as to things you can do to continue to move your business forward, maybe some things to avoid. If you enjoy the podcast, please do me a favor and go and rate it on Apple. Leave a written review if you have a couple of minutes. That would be great. I really do appreciate you listening. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so that way you get a notification as soon as a new episode is posted. This is it, guys. Now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.